project. Para Thiago starts making Bella is what she's working now. And we still have so
Hey, let's kick off. So today I have a pleasure to talk to a good friend. But before I talk about the friend, let me go back a little bit because he helped to shape what Premier League is today. He helped to shape a lot of what Arsenal is today. And the influence of him in football is something outstanding because he always ahead of the game. He always trying to find solution for the game, for football, to make the football better. Not only for the clubs, for the institutions, but also for the fans, for the players. And I have the pleasure to introduce Dein. Thank you very much for being here and
pleasure.
talk about the game behind the game, because you know very well what's behind the game, what's behind the game I've played. You play a totally different game, very special. Thank you for accepting the invitation.
My great pleasure. And Gilberto, you are one of my sons. And when we first met, we had a certain chemistry between us. And now, even 24 years later, we are still good colleagues and good friends.
How you find the competition? We are here in United States for the World Cup on different format. How did you find this new format and enjoying the games? Because I know you are so passionate traveling to different places,
Yeah. Well, I've been here 5-6 days already. I've seen some wonderful games. I've seen the magical Lionel Messi hat-trick at the age of 39. Yesterday I saw a fantastic game, Sweden against the Netherlands. I saw England played very well, particularly the second half. So it's been good. And tonight is Uruguay against Cape Verde. So every day there's another game. I'm in heaven.
Overdose of football we are
Can never have an
having.
overdose. Well, in Qatar, when you compared that, Arsène and I saw 56 of the 64 games. We were seeing 4 games a day. It's not possible here.
No, it's quite impossible.
It's one game a day.
Yeah, exactly. And the distance are so far.
Yeah.
But we are enjoying, the games anyway. But before we come back to the games, Mr. Dean, I want to go back in time.
Sure.
Because you have a different experience before joining football. Tell us how was it, growing up, watching football, but start on a different pattern, and just later on you came to football. How was the life before it?
Yeah, well, I tracked back the first time I ever went to Arsenal when I was about 9 or 10 years of age. So, and you get hooked. I went to the ground and I heard the noise and the excitement and the fans and the singing, and I became an Arsenal fan. I was taken by my late uncle, and from that day onwards I was a passionate fan. So I always used to go when I could, and then one day I managed to buy one single share in the club, only one. That didn't give me any power, but it gave me a certificate with the Arsenal cannon on it. But it also gave me the report, the annual report, the financial report.
Okay.
And I was reading the report, and I noticed that there were 15% of the shares unissued. So this was now in 1983. So I had the temerity. I wrote a handwritten letter to the board. I didn't know who they were. I just said, look, I'm a fan, I'm a season ticket holder. I would like to subscribe for these 15 shares. At the time I was in the sugar business, so I was trading around, particularly Africa. And I got a letter back saying, would I like to come for an interview? And when I sent the letter, I did something unusual. I sent a blank check.
Wow.
Because I wanted them to take me seriously, that I wasn't just a fan thinking I could get on the board. And then I got interviewed, and the rest is history. And I joined the board in 1983, and I was there for 24 years.
And before you were on commodity, on sugar
Yeah,
cane.
I was in the sugar, I was dealing.
Always have something ahead,
And a lot of it came from Brazil, you'll be pleased to
Yeah?
know. A lot of the sugar, yeah, it was physical sugar.
I grew up in a very small village where I was surrounded by sugarcane.
You see?
You must have brought a
We
lot
should have
from
done
them.
some business together before then.
We should have met before, or maybe have crossed
in a previous
some-
life.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I was in the commodity business. But you know, that was good for me because I would go to sleep rich and wake up poor because the market in Hong Kong had changed. So, you know, I was living on my wits. You've got to be quick.
Yeah.
You've got to think quickly. You've got to make quick decisions. And in a way, that gave me a good foundation for football. And particularly also, since my business was really trading in Africa, I didn't realize what an important area that was going to be for football later on.
Yeah, this is very interesting. As you say that, you know, work in the commodity in sugarcane, see the market like this. This was important now, this experience for you when you joined football at Arsenal.
Yeah, sure. You know, in life, you know, you don't know what you're going to have, what the next phone call is going to bring. So you've got to be ready.
How was the experience when you start? You know, you send the letter, they meet you. Yeah. How was the negotiation? How was the conversation with them?
Well, don't forget, then in the 1980s, the total turnover of Arsenal Football Club was £1.5 million. Today it's about 700-800 million, right? That's what it was like then. And football was in the 80s was not fashionable. We had hooliganism. Mm-hmm. We had fighting inside the grounds, fighting outside the grounds. Yeah. The stadia were dilapidated. People don't realize what football was like in the 1980s in England. It was not healthy. Mm-hmm. Women were not, you didn't see any women going to the games. And, you know, when I got on the ball, we had to try and change things and improve it.
What was the main change you want to apply for the club, but also for the league?
Well, yeah, it was a big move. Firstly, the club needed modernising, there was no doubt. We didn't have a marketing department, no commercial department. Now, today, when you think of all the big sponsors and television, everything behind it, but we had nothing at the time. And then the politics in the league was difficult. Now, in those days in England, English football had 4 divisions making up 92 professional clubs. And it wasn't quite, but it was almost one vote for one club. So the big clubs, the glamorous clubs, got outvoted by the lower divisions. So if we wanted to do something, it was very difficult. I remember going to my first league meeting, and I proposed there should be 2 substitutes instead of 1. In the 1980s, there was only 1 substitute. Now we're seeing 5 and 7 substitutes. There was only 1 substitute. And I suggest we should have 2 substitutes. And somebody put their hands up, you can't do that. I said, why not? They said, it's an extra bonus. It's an extra hotel room. It's an extra meal. I said, what? This is about football. And eventually, we managed to get 2 substitutes. You know, so football was very backward thinking. Mm-hmm. I can remember even discussing putting names on shirts. And I went to a meeting, and I remember holding up the shirt of Adams, number 6, Giggs, number 11, Shearer, number 9. And I said, look, this is what they're doing in America. We should do the same, so that the players get identified with a certain number, and, you know, the fans will appreciate it. And also for television, because invariably people, the audience can't see who the other players are around because the commentator's talking about the player on the ball, not the other players. Somebody said, you can't have that. We don't have enough laundry room.
Okay.
We don't have enough laundry room for the shirts.
Yeah.
You know, these are and it was difficult, but there was a big change. I'd like to mention this because this really changed football in England. So in 1989, there was something called the Hillsborough disaster.
Oh, yes.
This was
game changer.
A game changer. This is where 97 people lost their lives at a football match. It was a semi-final at Sheffield Wednesday's ground. And it was tragic. And I remember seeing the parents of 2 children, 2 daughters, right, who they lost their lives. And I went to see the parents, and they told me the story, and it was horrific.
Oh, yeah.
And that really, when I came out of their house, I stood outside, and I thought to myself, football can't be like this. It's got to change. Now, I was always friendly with the other. In those days, we had we had Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool, Manchester United, and Everton. We were called the Big Five.
Yeah.
And we would always talk together. And I convinced them that the time was right for us, the top division of 22 clubs, to break away, form a whole new legal entity, rebrand ourselves, reinvent ourselves, call ourselves the Premier League, to start again.
After the incident is when you guys decided to change.
That gave me the strength and the determination to change football.
How long after you joined Arsenal?
I joined in '83, and this was in '89. I joined Arsenal on the board in 1983. The Hillsborough disaster was April 1989.
Very short.
Yeah, it was 6 years afterwards.
And then, it's interesting because, what amazes me, because you compete on the field, but working together outside to create what is something very unique. What was the experience you brought from the sugarcane commodities before, and then when you arrive in football, the difference and similarities you find?
Well, I think in any sort of business, you have to work with people, and it's all about trying to convince people to do things. And this was very hard in football because the tradition weighed very heavily. People don't like change. So all of a sudden, we want to, the old football league has been going since 1886. And all of a sudden, a young guy comes in and wants to change the whole thing. So what's going on?
We're in shock with you, huh?
Yeah, it's a shock. And it was, there's an old saying, you cannot make an omelette without breaking some eggs.
Yeah.
We broke a lot of eggs.
This is good.
But that was progress.
Yeah.
The football the attendances were going down. In the 1980s, football was people don't realise it. Now you think of the Premier League, all the glamour of the stadium being nearly 100% full all the time. It wasn't like that before.
Yeah, but then, I remember growing up, people in Brazil, especially myself or some of my generation, we have a different impression of English football, First thing that came into mind was the violence, the
hooliganism.
This was very bad. How was it to convince everyone to create
it was very
the Premier
difficult.
League?
Well, this needed a lot of meetings, secret meetings, and the first thing we managed to get together was getting the 5 clubs, the big 5 that had really the commercial power, but we didn't have the voting power. We couldn't do it by ourselves. There were 22 clubs in the old First Division. We needed to get them on side. So we did something rather clever. The 5 of us were determined. So the next thing is, each one of us decided to get 1 club each. So if we could get 10 clubs together, we could have a new league.
Okay.
So once we got those other 5, which we did, once we had 10, then the other 12 came in immediately. It was a clever way of getting the rest of them together.
Just bring one by one.
Yeah.
There was a lot of resistance,
of course,
for them to join.
Well, the old football league, don't forget, we were taking the First Division of 20 and breaking away, leaving 70 clubs underneath, stranded. So the football league, we were going to call it the Premier League. We're starting new. The football league started a legal action against the FA, right, to stop it.
Okay. Wow.
It was very hot and heavy.
When they started, some of the clubs who started the movement start to become a little bit scared.
The trick was, the key to the whole thing, you'll be pleased to know, was the players. Why? Because the players' registrations were in the old football league. We are starting a new legal entity, we needed the players. But meanwhile, their registrations are in a new legal entity. So we had to get the players on side to convince them to sign. Literally, the same day they cancelled and signed a new contract for the Premier League. That was Not easy.
And I know when I had to work with so many players.
Yeah. And then there became a legal argument because under the Football League rules, we needed 3 years to resign. We wanted to resign immediately because otherwise you get 3 up, 3 down. The league changes every year. So we had to resign immediately. We had to get out and start the new season immediately. We couldn't wait 3 years. Luckily, the FA rules were different to the Football League rules.
Okay.
We needed 1 year resignation. So we resigned under the Football Association rules, right? And then there was an legal argument, and the FA won. And once the FA won, then we could resign under the FA rules.
Wow. That's a lot of work,
Oh, it was
to be done. But, when you look, all this work you have done and see the progress of the league with all the what became, what is your feeling? What is your, for being one of the co-creators of what it is today?
Obviously, I'm very proud of what's been achieved. I look at it as my baby, when you want a healthy child. And now it is the fastest, it goes around the world. It goes out to 190 territories around the world. It grosses, television is £4 billion coming in, right, every year. I mean, it's quite astonishing how much money is coming into the league. But more importantly than that, how it's viewed overseas. It's such a good product because the product on the pitch is so attractive.
Exactly.
You're getting the best players in the Premier League, the best managers, and you're getting very wealthy owners now with the clubs. So it's in a good place.
Yeah, because looking back, maybe from this time, the 90s, Italian football was up there, like the number one.
Absolutely.
We look at Italian football, and then you have to compete with them somehow to attract the best players for the league, right?
It's true. In the 1980s, 1990s, Italy was preeminent. Now England's number one.
What are the main transformation apart from what we see from outside? Because outside we have some idea, but you follow up, because I know that even though you are not on a day-to-day, as in a club, but you navigate between, the people in the federation. You somehow are part of it, You never get rid of football, from what I understand. But what are the best transformations you have seen so far?
I think the Premier League has managed to establish itself as such an attractive product on the pitch and also the stadia. That's why it's such a tragedy. We talk about the World Cup being here in America, that England have not hosted the World Cup since 1966. And that hurts me because as a big footballing nation, and we've got the finest stadia, we've got good transport, we've got good, the trains, the airports and everything else. We can do, and we've got the fans. We're a football-loving nation. And not to have hosted the World Cup since 1966 is too long.
It's time to come back.
It has to come back. But now, of course, it will take the next opportunity is 2038, which is too long away. I mean, but that's where it is.
But then, what fascinates me, because you were part of transform on 2 different ways, the club and the league, create the Premier League. How could you combine all of these,
question.
Or was it easy for you to do?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Obviously, working at Arsenal, I made sure I wanted to see Arsenal have a seat at the top table, whether the top table was at the FA, whether it was UEFA or FIFA, and then later on G14, which I became president of, which was 18 of the glamorous clubs in Europe at the time. I always wanted to make, so I was always looking at the wider picture, that football had to be held. It wasn't just obviously I wanted Arsenal because it's my club, but football had to be healthy in England. That was important. I want to see, I was at the World Cup, I was in 1966 when England last won the World Cup, the only one. We've only got one, not like Brazil, we've only got one star. So I want to see us win the World Cup. And that's why I'm here, because you always think that maybe a country could do it.
You always look ahead, you know, trying to find how you can help. Yeah, moving a little bit, you know, I'll focus a little bit on Arsène now.
Yeah.
Because having you both working together was something very interesting. You know, many people talk about, you know, Arsène, but sometimes not many know what's behind when Arsène. Just tell us, you know, how was the story when you brought Arsène to the club? I'm always fascinated on that.
That's a lovely story. I've got to do a prompt here for my book, which I gave you a copy, right? Calling the Shots, because it's all in there, how we met Arsène. Arsène for Arsenal. That was a great story. So this started in 1989, the 1st of January. Arsenal were playing Spurs that day. And don't you remember you remember obviously the old Highbury?
Yeah.
We used to have the boardroom, then there was something next door called the cocktail lounge. So those people, we used to use the boardroom for entertaining lunches on a match day. So you had the directors and their friends. Then there was another room for those people not worthy to go in here, so you had the coaches or managers and other people. And they didn't allow women in the boardroom, right, after 2:15. So the women had to go into the other room. And I used to go there in half time into the other, because there were more interesting people in the cocktail lounge than in the boardroom. So at half time on this particular day, I went into and there is my wife speaking to Arsène. And I knew who he was, but I'd never met him. Okay. So I introduced myself. I said, I'm David Dein, Vice Chairman. He said, and I know obviously he was manager at Monaco. And I said, what are you doing? He said, I've just come for one day. I've just flown in. Okay. Tomorrow I go back to Monaco.
All right.
So I said, well, what are you doing tonight? He said, nothing. So then I said to him, well, my wife and I, we're going to a friend's house. Would you like to join us for dinner? His next answer changed all our lives. He said, I'd love to.
Wow.
And then he came out to dinner at our friend's house. My friend was in show business. So at the end of the evening, there's a game called charades. Have you ever played charades? It's where you act out. So you've got like a name of a film, and you can't speak.
Okay.
It's miming.
All right.
So is it a book? Is it a film? Is it a play?
Yeah.
Okay. So I said to Arsène, do you want to play? He said, yes, okay. He didn't speak English well in those days. And I was speaking to my best A-level French. So
which is good, by the way.
Well, so we were playing charades, and he was acting out A Midsummer Night, famous Shakespeare play, A Midsummer Night's Dream. And I'm having a look at this guy, and I think, this is an unusual guy here. He speaks 5 languages, he's got a degree in economics, right? He's very eloquent. I think and his name is Arsène. Arsène for Arsenal. It's destiny. I'm not spiritual, but I could see it in the stars.
It's lovely.
Now, but that year, we were doing well under George Graham, our manager. We won the league in May against Liverpool 2-0 in fantastic, unusual. I mean, that was a remarkable game. As long as we talk about football, that game on the 26th of May, 89, when we won against all odds, but that's another story. So then after that, I became friendly with Arsène. So we used to go to the south of France very often, and I would go to Monaco as his guest to watch Monaco play.
Yes.
And he was auditioning. I realized, here is a man. I saw how he interacted with the players, with the fans, with the press, with the board. I could see this guy maybe one for the future. But it took a little bit of time to convince.
But this, to see him more often gave you the perception, oh, this is the man.
Yeah.
Because you could have a chance, to analyze him, the person.
Absolutely. because I saw him in a different environment.
Yeah.
Because we already had a manager, but I could see how intelligent he was. And nobody heard of him in England. In fact, when we decided to bring him in, the headline in the Evening Standard was Arsène who?
They understood later on, right?
Yeah.
Because later on, what he has achieved was fantastic. But you both, working together was
Yeah.
something beautiful.
It was very special. In fact, there was a funny story. I went to the training ground when we were going to announce that Arsène was going to manage Arsène. So the boys are standing around the training ground at London Colney, and I said, I'd like to tell you we're introducing our new manager today. And the boys said, who is it? Who is it? I said, it's Arsène Wenger. And Ray Parlour said, who the fuck's that?
Ray is always something. He has always something to say. Good fun. And but we've also, since then, a lot of things was changed. And one of the important things, I was part of it, we achieved together. We were there with the Invincible.
Yeah.
What is your view from that team?
In life, there are certain things you'll never forget. The birth of your children, or when you get married, special things. The Invincible is very special because it hasn't been done since. We did it in 2004, so it's been 22 years and still hasn't been done. That shows how difficult it is. Even this year, Arsenal played a great season. They lost 5 games. We didn't lose any games.
Yeah.
And you were part of that, Gilberto. You were a big part of that team, a big player. And today, we've still got our WhatsApp group. We're still bonding, all of us.
Yeah, which is something very special. For you, what made that team so special?
Yeah. Well, here Arsène deserves a lot of credit because I may have done the hard, getting the players in, but he identified everybody. His job, he said, I want Gilberto Silva. David, I want to buy Gilberto Silva. I have to now go and get him. And that was difficult. Oh, I won't forget that in a hurry, by the way, going out to Belo Horizonte and trying to meet Alessandro, was it?
Alexandre Khalil.
Right, Khalil. Oh, he didn't want to see me. No, I don't want to talk. I said, I've come all the way from London. I need to talk to you. For 3 days, I couldn't get to speak. In the end, I literally had to sit on his doorstep. And I said, I must see you. And eventually, I managed to see him. And then a colleague, Ricardo, I remember, was a nice guy, a very nice guy. So we managed to get to talk to him, to engage, and finally to convince him to do a deal. And then I remember literally taking you with my hand. We went to the training ground in Austria, do you remember?
Exactly.
On the plane to introduce you to Arsène and the rest.
You remember which player you introduced me first?
Go on.
You just mentioned him before.
Oh, Ray
Parlour.
Is that right? Oh, good.
Ray Parlour was the first player you introduced me. You came, Ray, this is Gilberto Silva. He came to me and introduced, but I couldn't speak in English. And I did not understand any word he said. But it's funny. Still nowadays, I don't understand him so much.
He is a great guy.
But he's a great guy. And I say this on a fun way.
You talk about that team. They were all men. They were all strong. They were determined. They were fantastic.
Now, it's amazing. When people talk to me about the Invincible, what I say to them, as a team, we were big guys. We were physically strong. We were fast, technically very good. But apart from that, we were good guys.
Yeah.
The guys were very nice. Having Arsène, you on the side. One of the things always kept in my mind, observing you, every game you went to the dressing room, shook hands to everyone, asked about how are you. I think this for me was a very good example as one executive or somebody from the board, come to address the player. For me, it's so important. And when I went later on to work at Panathinaikos, the first person I called was you, to just to get some sort of advice, about. And I always remember this, when you come to the dressing room, shake hands on everyone?
Well, they were my children. I regarded we were a family, and I think that gave the bonding. I wanted everybody to be responsible to each other. It's not just they're playing for themselves, they're playing for the club, they're playing in the team, and it was important that we all bonded together. And we did, and that was very special. When I think of the boys now, you know, every one of them had their own strength mentally, physically, and talent.
Yeah.
Extraordinary talent, you know, and we're still friends together. It's so nice, because we did something very exceptional.
Very exceptional, very difficult, very hard. But you know, keeping up with the transformation, also I could say so many things. But you know, you're also part of what women's football are in England. You push Arsenal on the time for the women's game, women's football, and today they fill Emirates with 60,000 people.
Yeah.
It's something very special. How was the challenge for that? How you came up with the idea for the women's football?
For women's football, yeah.
Women's football.
Well, because my wife's American, so I used to come to the States a lot. And because I'm interested in football, I could see that women's football had its place in America, in the sporting dynamic. And I thought, and then Vic Akers, you remember Vic?
Yeah.
So we had a kit man called Vic Akers. And he came to me one day and he said, I've got girls in the laundry that they'd like to play football. Do you think we can get them some kit? I said, Vic, why don't we form a women's team? And he said, yeah, great idea. I said, can you get enough girls together? He said, yeah, sure. He said, we can do it. So then I went to the board. You can imagine. So the board, we've got bankers and insurance people and city types. And I said,
David Dean again.
Yeah, absolutely. I said, I don't know, under any other business, I said, I'd like to make a suggestion that we should have a women's team. Everybody looked around. And the chairman, you could smoke, took his cigar out and he said, David, is that a publicity stunt? I said, no, Chairman, it's serious. I've seen it in America. We've got girls in the laundry. All we need to give them kit. We'll provide them coaching. It'll come. We've got to be the first. Somebody's got to start. Let Arsenal be the first team to really start a women's team. After about 3 meetings, I managed to get a small budget, right, to provide for the kit and provide their training facilities and to be part of it. And then today we're getting 60,000 people.
And Arsenal was the first team who has, in the Premier League, to have the women's team.
Women's team, absolutely. And now you've got everybody, because everybody had to follow. Once we got started, we managed to convince others to start a league.
Well, this is great not to see this journey of so many things you have brought to to football. Is something amazing, very inspiring. But then, you know, come back, you know, follow up this inspiration. Nowadays, you have a lovely project. You know, I know you are passionate about the twinning project. You know, tell us about how the idea came and how do you work with the twinning project and what's the goal for it?
Okay, yeah, this is another remarkable story. It's just, you know, we go through stages in our lives. And when I left Arsenal, because you left in 2008, didn't you?
Yes.
You left a year. I left in 2007 after 24 years. I had time. You know, a big vacuum. Arsenal's been my life. What am I going to do? And I was approached to go on a speaking circuit, a motivational talks in schools. So I decided to go around schools giving talks. And I must have done 500-600 talks around schools. And then I thought, where else is there a captive audience? Where else would people like to listen to me talk about sport, football? Prisons. So it took 8 months and I got my first prison to go to give a talk. And then they said, we've got 113 prisons in England. would you like to go around? I've been to every prison in England, all 113. And when I'm giving talks in prisons, I'm thinking, what is football doing in prisons to help the prisoners, to help the offenders? Nothing. So I thought, what about a project? I called it the Twinning Project, because I'm twinning a football club with a prison. So Arsenal twins with Pentonville, QPR with Wormwood Scrubs, Leeds United with Leeds Prison, and so on around the country. So wherever there is a football club, there is a prison not far away. So the football club puts their coaches, some coaches, into the prisons to give the offenders an opportunity to go on a coaching course. So when they come out, they have an FA certificate, so they can start on the pathway to becoming a football coach or a referee. And the objective is to get them a job to stop reoffending, so they don't go back to drugs and violence. At least they go into another world, right? And everybody loves football. So now it's expanded. We're now in America. We've got 6 states here doing it, right? We're in Italy and Romania, in South Africa, and we're going to come to Brazil soon.
How many clubs in the UK are part of the project?
There are about, well, it should be more, but now this is the problem. We've got about 50 clubs. 50? 50 out of...
That's quite a lot.
But yeah, but it's all to do with money. We don't get enough money from, we don't get any money from the government. We have to, our charity has to, every year, you've been to our charity events, we have to raise money every year to fund it. So if we had more money, we could do all the 113 prisons.
The money factor is one of the main challenges you have for the Twinning project.
It's the biggest.
What is you consider the best achievement so far at Twinning project?
Oh, when you see people getting jobs, working. They're working in clubs or getting other jobs. If you come to our functions, we always have an ex-offender talking how the Twinning project turned their lives around. They got them into another world. Instead of turning right, they turn left, and now realize they don't have to be an offender anymore.
It's fascinating for me, listen to everything. I have spoke so many times, different topics in football, have fun, but listen to this, because you could at this moment be sitting somewhere else on your house, quiet, but you are the person who loves to inspire, think. And once again, at this stage, you brought football back to help society.
Yeah.
When you look onto this, what, your statement, or you underline this connection, football, society, culture, and the individuals?
Well, I think, football has got to be used for good. It is, because it's so popular. Everybody loves football. And we can help society. Football has got to be able to do good in the world. We always can talk about Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo and everybody, but there's a lot of people who are suffering and struggling. And I've seen it before, and you've seen it around the world, where the kids need an opportunity. And football gives them that opportunity. Yeah. You've seen it in Brazil in the favelas, right there, right? It's identifying the talent to give them an opportunity to do well in life. Football can do that. It can change people's lives. I believe football can, used properly, can change lives for the better.
No, that's for sure. What are the main lessons all this year? If you can pinpoint a few of them you have learned, with your past experience before football, and then in football, in all different areas you have navigated, you've learned. If you could tell somebody else, listen, I'm gonna give you this lesson. For me, I really appreciate it. I've learned throughout the way.
I think the first thing you always got to do is be kind and understand your fellow human being. Like we're spending time now, we know it's a very friendly environment because you and I, we've got a very special relationship, right? Which is bonding, which started in 2002, when we didn't know each other.
Without speaking the language.
and we didn't speak the
Start, I
language.
speak English.
Absolutely, and now you speak fluently, and now we're sitting here in Miami, you're interviewing me, and it's another word. So I would say anybody, whatever you're doing, you want to be successful. Number one, always be kind. Think of it, and be a good listen to what the other person wants. You know, try and get on with them, and try and see how together, because you can't do it alone. My old grandpappy said it takes two hands to clap. You can't clap with one hand. You always need somebody else to work with you. And in a football team, you need not more than one.
Yeah.
Right? So it's got to be, it's an orchestra.
Yeah.
And in fact, I must tell this story. You don't mind? Can I tell the story?
Yes, of course.
In Brazil, where we were.
Yeah.
So it was the World Cup. Where, was it the World Cup in
Brazil? 2014?
2014. I managed to host it in Sao Paulo with our Brazilian players, yourself, Edu, and Silvinho.
Yes.
And Arsène Wenger and myself. I think maybe Dick Law was, I can't remember, maybe, but at any rate, certainly the three of us and Arsène. And we were sitting around the table. And I asked you a question, and your answer was remarkable, Gilberto. I said to you, Gilberto, I've never asked this question before, but what made the Invincibles so strong? What was there something special that happened maybe in the dressing room? I never ever asked a player what went on in the dressing room, because that's private, right? But I said, can you tell me now? It's so many, right? It's years later. And so, well, then it was, so we're talking about 2000, we're talking about 2014, so we're talking about 10 years afterwards.
Yeah.
And I remember you stood up and you said, can you imagine this? Are we okay to film this?
Yeah, yeah.
So
yeah.
you said we will be in the tunnel waiting to go out. And at the old Highbury, the tunnel was very narrow.
Very narrow.
So you're in and everybody, I think, always superstitiously, they had their position. So we had Patrick Vieira first, I think Gilberto next, then Dennis or Thierry, and right, everybody was in the same position. Oh, Jens, I think, was number two.
Jens was number two.
Number two was Jens. So it was Patrick, Jens, then I think yourself. So you went like this. You said, we'd be ready to go out to the game. Then just before we were going to walk out, Patrick would turn to Jens and go with a nod like that, as if we're going to do it today. And then Jens would turn round to Gilberto, give him a nod. Gilberto would go to Thierry, to Dennis, to Ashley, to Ray, right, to Loren, to go and they're all giving each other the nod and the strength. And then collectively, we'd look across to the opposition and we could see fear in their eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
It was such a beautiful story, and I tell that wherever I can.
That was it, and my feeling is that the victory starts there, the result for us. We start to win the game at this tunnel. Very narrow, this was it,
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Yeah. It was very special. We created history.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was fantastic, Mr. Dean. Wow, I'd love to spend many hours talk to you, but we'll have time, to talk during the World Cup. But what the legacy, you want people to remember from you, I believe many of them know, but everything you have done for football, not only in England, but for football, is something, have to be written everywhere in the world. As a master class for people how to do in football. What would you like them to remember?
Well, I don't want to brag, but funny enough, only last week I was awarded an OBE, which is the Order of the British Empire, which is an honour which you get from the King for my services to football and charity. And I'm very proud of that. But I think when I look back, I think everybody in life, you put a little brick in the wall somewhere. And I like to think I put a little brick in the wall for Arsenal, and for English football, and hopefully for global football. And I haven't finished yet, because I still want to do more.
Well, I feel proud of having not only this moment with you to share many other moments we have shared together in the past, but the future present. Hope we can keep write some other stories.
Another chapter.
Keeping up with the jokes.
Oh yes, that's another humour. I think we didn't mention that. Humour is so important in life.
Yes.
Because it's so intense. You need to have that light-hearted bit, right, for people to enjoy. So when we go out, we can have a joke together.
Exactly.
That's always a good bonding.
Yes. But Mr. Dean, thank you very much.
My great honour.
It's a great pleasure.
It's a great pleasure.
And spend time again together. But listen to this today for me was very special. You know, even though I speak at home with my family, wife, and kids, tell about your stories. And but today is totally different because I can show them every time from the conversation you have, and how special you are for me, but not only for me, but for football, and for the Invincible team, for everyone who loves football, the importance of everything you have done. We, as a football lovers, we must thank you for everything, and be, let's say, very proud to be close to you in every time, because every time we learn something. I really appreciate for the time you spend, to the time you listen to us, the time you share your wisdom and the jokes and everything. Yeah. And I appreciate that. Thank you very much for all.
My great pleasure. Gilberto, you're one of my sons and I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Finish?
Great.
Is that okay? Do you like that?
Wow.
You see, we did one take. We didn't.
Yeah. That's how pros do it, right?
Well, but we know each other so well. It flows easily. It's conversation. You know, we're sitting in.
You have done interviews for others. Here we talk as a friend.
Yeah, but there's so many stories. So many.
If we speak about all the stories we had,
But we've had so many great experiences. We're lucky because, most people in football don't get that opportunity of winning a league or winning a cup or winning the World Cup, right? And Gilberto, how many times did you captain? 98 times?
98 times.
98 times playing for his country. It's not a small country. I'm not underrating Cape Verde tonight, but you're playing for Brazil, right? And that is something very special. So he was a big player. And one of the nicest people I've ever met in football. Whenever I talk about people in football, right at the top, number one is Gilberto.
Well, this means so much. Thank you. It means a lot, Mr. Dean.
But that's all to do with your credit, because you've never forgotten your upbringing when you worked in the sweet factory, wherever it was in. Yeah. That was a funny story, because, do you remember, I remember there was something in the FIFA rules that we had to pay compensation for the team that brought you up, that developed you.
Oh, yeah.
So
America.
Yeah, so we had to find out from the FA, from the CBF,
yeah,
who brought you, which teams developed you. 10 teams put their hands up, right? Everybody, we did. And meanwhile, you said, but I was working in a sweet factory.
Exactly. So many stories.
So many stories.